StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn to discipline and show up day after day to do the work, confidence, put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is, you go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is why you need fresh eyes on yourself and on your work. Before we get into this, I remind you all of two things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation messages guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. All you got to do, or your week respectively, all you got to do is text me to be part of my text community. It's free to join. My number is 305-384-6894 is down below in the description. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. You would like to have me as your direct coach. You'd like to be able to talk with me on a regular basis, regularly scheduled basis, ask me questions, get answers to your questions, talk to others who are in the same boat as you and on the same path towards success that you are, and be able to engage with them and see how I engage with them, because someone else may have a question that would be great for you to get insight to, even though you didn't have the direct question. That's why you want to be part of a community like we have at Work on Your Game University. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. All of our trainings, all of our courses, all of my strategic stuff, mindset, strategy, systematic, accountability, all that stuff. Access to that is for you when you're a member of the university. Link down below. With that out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which is why you need fresh eyes on you and on your work. Now, being that Work on Your Game is designed for high performers who are ambitious about your performance and the consistency of that performance and the results that come from that performance, I created this masterclass today to help you understand why you need to have more than one set of eyes looking at the things that you do. This is for the purpose of making sure that what you do, how you do it, and what you share with the world is at its highest possible level of quality, its highest possible level of execution. This will serve you because you'll build a reputation for performing at a high level, and it will serve the people you help because they get the highest level stuff that you can possibly create. So let's talk about this, why this matters, how it works, and what you can do to make sure that this is happening in your life. Getting fresh eyes on yourself and on your work. Number one, understand. First point is an understanding. Topic again today is why you need fresh eyes on you and your work. You cannot see yourself in the mirror. You cannot see yourself in the mirror. And I mean this metaphorically, and it also can apply literally, because literally there are angles of your physical person that you can't see if you are just looking in the mirror, because your eyes are at the front of your head, not on the sides of your head, not at the back of your head. So you literally cannot see the direct back of your head just by looking in the mirror, because for you to turn around and look, your back of your head is not in the mirror anymore, so you can't see it. So there are literal angles on your body that you cannot see even using a mirror. Impossible. You can't see them. You would either need another set of eyes to look at it, or you'll need another mirror to be able to see certain angles on your own physical body. And this metaphorically means that it's better to have other people sometimes take a look at what you are doing and what you're thinking about doing, so they can show you things or point things out or offer insights or ideas that you otherwise never would have come up with, noticed, or done on your own. You wouldn't have figured these out just using your own personal resources, i.e. your own mind and your own thinking. This does not mean that your mind and thinking are necessarily insufficient. Technically, it kind of does, but it doesn't mean, when I say insufficient, it doesn't mean they're insufficient such that you don't know how to think, or you're not smart, or you're not intelligent. What it means is there's only a certain amount of things that you will see and notice and have insight on because you have a limited experience. Your experience is limited only to what you've experienced. But if you talk to another person, they have a whole lifetime full of experience that you don't have. Therefore, they may look at the same thing that you saw in a different way than how you looked at it, just because they're different from you, because they had a different experience. But if you don't put your head together with another person's mind, then you never get the benefit of this, and you're limited to only what you know. And no matter how smart you are, you ain't smarter than the whole world, rest of the world put together. So you don't want to get in a smartness contest with the rest of the world, you against the rest of the world. You're probably not going to win. Nobody's that smart. You're better off joining in with the rest of the world and letting others besides you put fresh eyes on what you are doing and who you are, and saying, hey, have you thought about this? Have you seen this? Well, I noticed this. Take a look at this. Think about this. Consider this. You can't get that if you're not talking to anyone else. You can't get that just talking to yourself. So this is the exact reason why high-level professionals have trainers and coaches, and they join masterminds, and they hang around other people who are high-level people, because other people may just have an idea that you didn't think about just because you were there. Just because you were there and they're there and they saw what you said and they heard what you're dealing with and they said, well, have you thought about this? Do you know this? Do you know this person? Have you heard of this? And I can't tell you how many times on both sides of the equation, whether it was me talking to someone who I may have known generally lightly. Let's say I appear on someone's podcast, and after we're done recording, we're just talking, and the person says, well, I see that you do this, or have you heard of this, or what do you do about this? And I'll tell them something that is common knowledge to me because I've been doing it for a long time. And they said, oh, damn, I never thought of that. I never heard of that. Didn't know about that. Thanks for letting me know that, Dre. I've done that many times. And at the same time, just as often, I'm talking to someone and they'll say something or they'll do something or they will offer something, whether they're trying to give it to me on purpose or they just say something and I hear it and I just pick up what they said, don't even mention it to them, but I remember what they said and I say, okay, what that person just said, I could probably use that in some way, and then I'll go use it. And the only way I got access to that is because I was in a conversation with that person. But see, if I don't talk to anybody and I'm just hanging around by myself, I don't get access. I'm cut off from the access to all this information. I could tell you many ways that I have put myself in a position to make money and capitalize business-wise simply because I got an idea of what something that somebody else was doing that was already common to them. They were already doing it normally, and it wasn't even something to think about. But it had never even occurred to me. But then when I saw them doing it, I said, damn, I could be doing it. I need to be doing just that, what they just did. And then I started doing it, and it worked, and it made me money. But again, this can't happen if I'm not talking to anyone. This can't happen if I'm just doing everything by myself and going off of my own knowledge and my own insights. And again, I think I'm pretty knowledgeable and pretty insightful, but there's a limit to anything any one individual person can do. You follow what I'm saying here? So high-level professionals understand the value of having extra sets of eyes on them, even when they are already high-level performers. This is why your favorite professional athletes all have coaches and trainers. It's not because they're not good. It's because they value having an extra set of eyes on what they do. I remember doing a speaking engagement in, it was either 2015 or 2016. And someone who I know well was a speaker as well in the audience that day. And after that speech, he came up to me and said, Dre, I noticed that when you're speaking, in between your sentences, you kept licking your lips. And he showed me what I was doing. He said, you kept licking your lips in between every line when you were talking. Every time you paused, you kept licking your lips. Now, I didn't notice that I was doing it, even though I had actually been doing it. But when he pointed it out to me, I don't think he was lying. I don't think he made it up. I was cognizant of it, and then I stopped doing it. I was able to extinguish the habit because he pointed it out to me. But had I not had the conversation with him, or had he not known me, because let's say he was just some random person who was in the audience, but he didn't know me, he might not have been willing to offer that to me. But since he already knew me, and he knew I was a person who was willing to take that feedback, he came up to me and told me. And now that I knew it, now I stopped doing it. But hey, had he never told me, maybe I'll still be doing it to this very day. So this is the benefit of getting extra sets of eyes on you. Again, also with people with whom you have some type of relationship, so they can tell you what they're actually seeing. Because people could see things in you, but just not tell you because maybe they just don't have that relationship with you to where they feel like they could. And again, once someone notices something, now you can do something about it. But things you don't know about, you can't do anything about. And again, I wouldn't have picked up this habit that he said you kept licking your lips in between your statements because I was unconscious of the habit. But once he pointed out, I became very conscious of it, and I haven't done it since. So this is but one example of not being able to see yourself in the mirror, even when you are the one doing the very thing that's being pointed out to you. The challenge with this is that many people are not very open to this type of observation. So you want to make sure that you're someone who is, and you need to demonstrate to people that you're open to this observation. Hey, let me know what I can do better. Let me know how I can improve. Let me know what you see if you notice anything. This is something that any of you has been a member of Toastmasters. This is one of the great things about Toastmasters. And this person, I actually knew him from Toastmasters, speaking of such, because I was the president of Toastmasters in Miami Beach for about a year around that 2015, 2016 time period. And at Toastmasters, any of you who's never been, what happens there is basically a place where people go to practice communication. Communication is not just speaking, but also listening. So there's a section of the meeting, in our meetings, at least how it went. Everyone does it slightly different, but in our meetings, we have 3 people come and give a prepared speech. And when we say speech, I mean somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes usually was the length of the speech. 3 people would give a speech about whatever they were talking about. And then later in the meeting, 3 people will come up and evaluate the person they were assigned to evaluate. So each person who was speaking had an evaluator assigned to them, and the speaker would speak, and the evaluator would come up later and offer in front of the whole room an evaluation of what the speaker did, like their style, their words, their story, anything that needed to be pointed out about their speech. So everyone was basically getting the chance to critique and to be critiqued. And that's what happens in a place like Toastmasters. There are other things that happen in Toastmasters too, but any of you wants to work on your communication in a low pressure, low risk environment, Toastmasters is a good place to start off. So there are Toastmasters. You owe me an affiliate fee for sending you some new members. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why you need fresh eyes on yourself and on your work. Number 2, the right people can see angles that you otherwise would never have seen. Keyword here, the right people. So when I say you need fresh eyes on yourself and your work, that doesn't mean you just go let anybody look at your stuff. Don't just go to the guy on the corner asking for change on the highway off ramp for advice, because they may not have the insight to see what you need to see. They may not have the insight to show you what needs to be seen. The right people can see angles that you otherwise never would have seen. So one of my jobs as a coach is providing insight to people. Insight is not information. Insight is not answers. Insight is about asking the right questions, which may mean replacing the question that you are asking with the question that you need to ask and giving you a better quality approach that better solves the issue that is at the root of the question that you might have been asking. So you might have been asking one question, but I say, well, let's figure out why you're asking that question. Once I find that out, I may realize that you don't even need the answer to that question. You need to answer to a better question. That's insight. Insight is figuring out what question needs to be asked instead of having the answers to the questions that you're asking. Doesn't mean that your question is bad necessarily. Sometimes your question is bad. Sometimes your question is just going to take us deeper in the weeds. Whereas if we ask a better question, that would get more to the root of what actually needs to be addressed, if you understand what I'm saying. And this is one of the ideas, this is one of the benefits of insight. That's what insight is about. And when it comes to getting these right people around you, ladies and gentlemen, there's a shortcut to doing this and there's a long cut. So the long cut is you just go through life as you go through it, and whoever you come across, and hopefully, maybe, luckily, you come across someone who is of high quality and high caliber, who actually wants to have some type of connection and relationship to you, and they can provide this insight. All right, that's the lucky path. And maybe it'll work. Most likely it doesn't. Now, if you want to know the shortcut to doing this, here's the shortcut. Go find a place where people who self-assess themselves as high level, people who are raising their hand and saying, I want to be around other high level people, are gathering. Go to places where these people gather on purpose and make friends there, because you're much more likely to be talking to a high concentration of people who are actually high level rather than hoping to get lucky and run into a random person in the street. Again, random people in the street, you never know who you may run into, but the odds of them being a high level person are usually pretty low, considering how many people you run into in the street every day and the odds of running into one of them who happens to be a high quality person and you happen to have a conversation with them. You might walk right past one of them, don't even know it's them, and you don't have a reason to stop them. But let's say you join the mastermind. Okay, now in the mastermind, you got a whole bunch of people who at least raised their hand and said that they want to be high level, or they consider themselves to be high level. There's a good chance that a good amount of them actually will be. Now, there may be a few people who are in there who are stragglers and they're not serious, but most people who go to places like that on purpose are serious. Doesn't mean all of them is going to be your best friend, but they are serious. I have a whole lot of friends who are friends of mine now who I met just because I went to a business conference, or I was in somebody's coaching program, or I joined a mastermind, or I went to some place where people voluntarily go to improve themselves, and that's how I met the person. Many people who are friends of mine to this very day, going back to the Toastmasters, going back to not even in sports, it was just business alone, going back to Toastmasters, coaching programs, events I've gone to, courses I've been a part of, communities I've been a part of. I met a whole lot of people who are friends of mine to this day just by doing that. Because again, when you go to places like that, everybody in there is they're calling themselves a person who is serious about getting better. All right, just by going to a place like that, they are serious about getting better, because most people say they want to get better but don't do anything. So the fact they actually did something tells you that they are serious about getting better. Whether they actually do or not is a different story. But the fact that they had the intention tells you that you're at least talking to someone with potential, right? So if you can get around those people all the time, you give yourself a very high likelihood of running into the right type of person. This is what you need to be doing on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something that happens by luck, okay? And you get insight from anyone. You get insight from anybody, because insight, and I'm not saying everyone has the same level of insight or the same volume of insight. I provide insight for a living. I do this all day, every day. But you can get a good, insightful idea from a person who's not even trying to be insightful, because they just happen to know something that you didn't know. And that idea is the perfect thing that you needed to hear right there at that moment. Now, if you're in a group like that all the time, well, then breakthroughs are going to be happening all the time. People are going to be getting aha moments and light bulb moments all the time when you're hanging around people who are thinking about ideas. Right? What you need to understand about human beings is that average people talk about other people. I mean, low-level people rather talk about other people. Average people talk about events, and big people talk about ideas. So when you're hanging around people who are talking about ideas, you should stay in that group. Anytime you're hanging around people who are discussing ideas on a regular basis, you want to stay around them. Whoever they are, however you found them, just find out, how can I stay around this group? How can I keep talking to these people? Those are the people you want to be talking to. People who discuss ideas, not events and not people. So again, someone may be showing up thinking that they need a better, for example, I'm talking to someone, they say, well, Dre, I need a better advertising campaign because my ads are not turning over the way that I want to. And as I look into their situation, I understand, I heard you, that you need a better advertising campaign. But what I find out is that their current product is, or they say we need a better ad because their current product is not selling. But I could just tell them, okay, here's how we make a better advertisement. But as I look into their situation, I may find out through insight that there's nothing wrong with the advertisement. Something's wrong with the offer or the sales funnel. The sales funnel is not set up the right way. The offer is priced too low or too high. It's not targeting the right type of person. The headline sucks. These are all the reasons why the ad is not turning over. There's nothing wrong with the ad. The ad's working. People are clicking on it. What's wrong is when they click on the ad, the thing they come to next is not doing its job. But we fix that, then the ad is going to look amazing. Now, see, if you didn't get the insight, you might have fixed the wrong problem. As the saying goes, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if you don't understand what's actually broken because you don't have the insight, you may end up fixing things that aren't broken and not fixing things that are broken. This is what happens when you are only relying on your own internal personal knowledge. And again, it's not to say that you're not smart. But again, I just told you this in point number one. You can't see yourself in the mirror. There's some things you simply can't see about yourself that anyone else can see very easily. So it could be something else in the process other than the ad that is causing that person's product to not sell. So insight is about replacing the current question with a better question. And another example of insight is, for example, instead of asking yourself, how can you get your current customers to spend more money? Right? Any of you runs a business, maybe you want that. I want all my customers to spend more money. Instead, you can ask yourself a different question. Now, there's nothing wrong with that question, but this may be a better question. Instead of asking that, say, how can I find higher quality customers who are already used to spending more money? So all my customers right now are spending $1,000 a year. I want my customers to spend $5,000 a year. You might be able to do it. You might be able to squeeze the extra $4,000 out of your customers. But what if instead you said, why not just go find new customers who are already used to spending $10,000, so $5,000 is a steal for them, and they'll do it without thinking? Might be a better question. That might not be. It depends on what you're selling, who you are, who you're selling to. It depends on many things. But it changes the entire equation when you ask a different question. Do you see how that just changes your whole thinking? The fact I gave you two different questions, but they're looking at the same outcome. But it's two different ways to get to the same thing, but each way can lead to completely different processes. This is what insight is about. And again, I told you I'll do this for a living. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why you need fresh eyes on yourself and on your work. Number 3, performing, critiquing, and optimizing are 3 different jobs. Performing, critiquing, and optimizing are 3 different jobs. They're not the same thing. That's not one job. So the secret hiding in plain sight for all of us, and that high-level performers all understand very well. So if you are a high-level performer, you need to understand this, because this is a requirement of being a high-level performer, is understanding this. Performing is a job in and of itself. Think of an athlete. Right? The person who plays in the games, that's a whole job, just playing in the games and doing well, right? The person who is watching you perform and telling you how you can perform better, also known as a coach or maybe a trainer, that person, that's a job. Right? Is that a job in and of itself? Yes, there's a coach on a sports team. Their whole job is just coaching. Their job is not to play and coach. Their job is just coach. That's all they do, coach. And then the person who's going to help you optimize based on the critiques that you're getting from your opponents, from yourself, and from your coaches, that's a job by itself, isn't it? Isn't that a whole job? That person is also known as the trainer. So think of your favorite athlete. Think of Serena Williams. Serena Williams has to go out there and play in the matches, right? No, she doesn't play anymore, but we'll use Serena. She goes out there and plays in the matches. She has a coach who will tell her, okay, this is what's going on with your serve. Your footwork is not looking right. You're a little bit too slow. Your backhand is looking weak. They'll tell Serena what she's not doing so well. And the coach may consult with or pass the information along to the trainer. And the trainer's job is to get Serena in the gym or on the tennis court and getting her working on her movements and her footwork and her body recovery and everything else so that she can actually execute on the critiques that her coach gave her. Those are 3 different jobs. That's not one job. Challenge some of you have is that you're doing all 3 jobs at the same time. And you're not great at all 3 jobs. You're great at maybe one of them, if any. Nobody's great at 2 or 3 of these. You're great at maybe one, but you're trying to do all 3. So that means you're doing at least 2 of them on a mediocre level. Actually, you're probably doing all 3 on a mediocre level, because even the one that you're great at, you can't be as great as you could be because you got to give part of your time to the other 2 jobs. See, if you could just focus on one job, you'd be great at it, at least as best as you could be at it. But if you're trying to do 3 jobs at the same time, you can't do any one of them at a super high level because you don't have the resources. You're dividing your resources amongst 3 different jobs. How are you going to be great at any one of them? That's impossible. Like, can you chase 3 rabbits at the same time? No, you can't do it. So where is your focus? What's your priority? So look at one of your favorite athletes. As I told you, gave you an example. Ronaldo, Serena, Tiger Woods, LeBron James. They play in a game. The trainer or coach watches the performance, and then there's a person who helps them optimize for the next performance. And that could be several people: a nutritionist, a massage therapist, a performance coach, all different jobs. Is this true? Of course it's true. In the professional world, folks, the concept around this is who, not how. That's who, W-H-O, not how, H-O-W. What does that mean? That means when you have a challenge in your professional life, if it's not within your wheelhouse, it's not in your zone of genius, and the things that are in your zone of genius, you know exactly what they are because that's where you should be spending the majority of your time. That's where you make the bulk of your money. If it's not in your zone of genius, the first thing you should ask yourself is not how do I figure this out? It's who has already figured this out. Let me say it again. When you face a challenge that is not in your zone of genius, and you know when something's in your zone of genius or if it's not. If you have to ask, it's not in your zone of genius. Everybody got it? If you have to ask, it's not in your zone of genius. Instead of asking, how do I figure this out? Instead, ask, who has already figured this out? And go find that person and let them do it. For example, I do not like editing video. So if you are watching this on video, you notice that this video is probably not highly edited. Now, maybe we went back and edited the video later, but it's probably not highly edited because I just record these and basically put them up. I don't do any editing to the videos, and I record for the most part in one take when we do these shows. But if I want to put videos out that are edited, the first thing I'm asking myself is not, I weaned myself over this a long time ago. I'm not asking myself, how do I figure out how to edit video? Actually, I know how to edit video. I just don't fucking want to do it. So I'm not doing it. I'm not doing any video editing, zero. So you ever see a video come out of the Work on Your Game house, Dre Baldwin did not do the editing, guaranteed. I did not edit that video. I want to find who already has figured out how to edit video, whether that means some software, whether that means a human being or a combination of both, but I ain't doing it. I'm not editing any video. I have 3 zones of genius: speaking to an audience, speaking to one person, and writing. Those are my zones of genius. If I'm not doing one of those 3 things, business-wise, I'm doing something that I probably need to be passing off to somebody else. So I might be doing it temporarily so I can pass it off, but I'm not doing it. All right, so ask who can do the job instead of you doing the job. So let's recap today's class, which is why you need fresh eyes on you and your work. Because again, if you're going to be a high-level pro, you need to be focused on what you do best, not on trying to do everything. Number 1, you cannot see yourself in the mirror. There are certain things you simply can't see in and about yourself that other people can see very easily, but if you don't associate with other people, you'll never know what you're missing. Number 2, the right people can see angles that you otherwise never would have seen. This is the reason why you join masterminds, get into coaching programs, and get around other high-level people, because they will just throw an idea out there that may be commonplace to them, but could be perfect gold for you if you knew about it. But many of you are not even able to access the right ideas and insights because you're not around anyone who can offer you, and you're not opening yourself up to do so. And number 3, performing, critiquing, and optimizing are 3 different jobs. Again, I gave you the example. Serena Williams plays, the coach critiques, and the trainer helps her optimize for the next game. Those are not one job. If you're trying to do 3 high-level jobs all at the same time, there's no way you can do even one of them at a super high level if you even had the potential to do so. Because first of all, nobody's great at everything. And secondly, if you're trying to divide your focus amongst multiple things, you will never be great at any one of them. And the people I named, Serena, LeBron, Tiger, these people are all great at what they do, not because they are just so innately talented and you're not. And these guys do have talent, but that's not the reason why they're so great. The main reason why they're so great is because they're able to put all of their focus into the main thing. There are other people who are comparable levels of tools who don't have anywhere near these people's accomplishments because they never, for whatever reason, put their full focus into just that. And that plays a huge role. So when it comes to things that are not within your zone of genius that need to be solved for you, ask yourself, not how do I do it, but who has already figured out how to do it? Then get them on your team. All that said, text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. And go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, that link, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you get to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach, get your questions answered, get your questions replaced with better questions, get access to our trainings, our programs, our strategic stuff, our mindset stuff, and everything in between for your personal and your professional development. Again, with me helping you all along the way, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all